Cranking it up. The hottest hits. Right here on Radio XM 1296
Now
AM.
you are finally better late than never. And this is a proper testament to this timing indeed. We finally managed to connect to our very own pioneer of, international speaking and a great legend and of leadership. And we would like to welcome our leader, our Rohit Bassi. Rohit, very good morning, sir.
Very good morning and a good afternoon from here in Dubai. Thank you for allowing me to be on the show. Great honor.
Thank you. And it's an absolute delight, some pleasure crossing over. And I've got to be honest, this is the first time ever I've engaged with a telephonic, telephone call all the way in Dubai. Never done it before. So it's been a pleasure. Just as you're waking up and probably soaking up the sunshine and the temperatures. What is the temperature out in Dubai?
It's sunshine over here as always. I think it's hitting about 30, 35 today.
Pretty. What time is it there currently?
It is 1:54 to be exact.
Lovely. I hope you do speak Punjabi. Khana khuna kha liya tusi?
मैं खाना भी खा लेता, मैं चाय भी पी लेती, दारू नहीं पींदा तो दारू नहीं पीती.
I thought you would keep the bag book for a little bit later on. But, and before we do proceed, what did you have for your dinner? Roti खाती के अंग्रेजी खाना?
चाय पीती बस, चाय पीती और एक सैंडविच खाया.
Oh, lovely. Okay. So, Rohit, an absolute delight. Thank you for joining us here. Look, since we have been sort of shining a light that you're going to be here today, a lot of people have already been connecting, wanting to know all about leadership. So you're here today. And it's we're going to shine a light on about, your conversation with us about leadership skills. And just before we do sort of transit into that, I think collectively we would just love to know a little bit about you and your personal journey itself.
Okay. I was born and brought up in the UK. I have been in Dubai now almost 15 years. In my early days, I studied in India. So because of that, I can speak fluent Hindi, Punjabi to a certain extent, and conversational Urdu. So that's on that side. I am actually, people call me an introvert. Even though I'm an introvert, I do have the ability to go on the stage and do talks, have the ability to train people in terms of leadership, in terms of communication, and also carry out coaching. So that's a gist of my journey.
Right, superb. So born and bred in the UK, residing now in...
Londoner.
I can't hear a little bit of London accent in you. What a transition from... is this something that you manifested in your life? Is it something that just came out of the blue? Were you just living your life in the UK and all of a sudden you came to a crossroads and decided... actually, this is my route? Or was it just in your DNA from when you first growing up and through your education? Because I was doing some research about you also, and obviously checking out your wonderful videos. And I've got to say that, your talks and the energy that you channel is just spectacular. Nowadays, anybody that's, on a stage and they are doing any form of talk, you've got to be captivating, you've got to be resonating with your audience, and you've done an absolute sterling job engaging with your audience. And it's not something easy, from a presenter to an international speaker. So just go back to your career, obviously in your younger days, and is it something you just came across, you tumbled over? Was it somebody that you met? What was your journey, and what manifested this journey for you to become this communication wizard that you are today?
Okay. In my younger days, I studied in India. And when I came back to the UK, which was at the age of 10 because of the challenges which was happening in Punjab, when I got out of Heathrow Airport, we sat in the car. I was 10 years old, and as the UK weather is grey, miserable, raining, it was about, I think, 6:30, 7:30 in the evening. It's pitch dark. The rain is coming onto the screen on the passenger window and so forth. And I'm looking at the screen and I'm looking at the window. I'm saying, when am I going to get out of this country? That was my first thought.
Wow.
And ever since that day, it was always like, when will I leave that country? Because I just could not connect with the weather. Anyways, years passed on. I did my O levels, GCSEs, A levels, did my degree over there, studied over there. And at the back of my head, there was always, how do I, where do I, which country do I go to?
Right.
And nothing was materializing because I was applying for jobs outside the country. I even was applying to one of those Buna camp things, which, can you do international placement?
Yes.
I wouldn't even get a placement in that. I was getting rejected for everything. And then I just said, forget it. I can't be bothered with it. And I just, continued with my life in the UK. And then this opportunity in 2000, and I think it was 2006, as one of my family members was moving over here. And he said he wants me to come over here. And I was like, I'm a bit concerned, the Middle East, not quite sure. He said, look, you better come, otherwise I'm just going to drug you and make you come over here. I was like, okay, before I do that, I need to go and check this place out.
Right.
And at that time, Dubai was still,
up and coming, going,
up and coming.
flourishing, yeah.
Absolutely. And as soon as I landed in the airport and I was out, something was like, it was just magical for me. I said, I just want to move over here.
Rohit, I'm just going to ask you to pause for a couple of minutes. I'm just going to cross over to the Sky News Centre and we will resume in a tick. If that's okay with you?
Sure, go for it.
Across the Midlands.
From the Sky News Centre.
From Birmingham. Across the Midlands. This is Radio XL on 1296 AM.
Indeed, 2 minutes into 10 a.m. Welcome back. It is part 2. And this is Gee Kaur on your radio in conversation. And crossing back over to a rather sunny Dubai. And I'm joined by Rohit also Bassi. Thank you very much, Rohit, for your patience. And okay, so we were in conversation just about your transition, your journey. So, of course, you're a friend, did you say, that said to you, if you don't come to Dubai, I'll drag you there. Rohit, are you there? Oops. Hello, Rohit. Oh, Rohit. Hi, Rohit. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, thank God.
Can you hear me?
My goodness, I thought I'd lost you. After all that, I thought I'd lost you. Right. Thank you very much indeed. And we can reconvene with our lovely conversation. So, of course, you were sharing with us that, was it a friend or a Rishtadar that was saying that...
It was a Rishtadar said, come over, and I got over here, and as soon as I landed, it was like, I want to be in this place. I started applying for jobs. 1 month later, I got an interview, did an online interview. At that time, online interviews were not much heard of, did it over Skype.
Yes.
They liked me, came down over here, literally within 2 months in May. So I was came here in 2006 when I traveled over here. 2006, I think it was in May 2006, I traveled over here. And in August 2006, I was in Dubai.
Bravo. Wow. Divine intervention.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So, of course, when you were here, because I can see your background was all about senior management in client and customer service, etc., human resources. So you landed yourself a job, and then this job led you to where you are today?
Absolutely. So I landed the job in 2008 when the credit crunch happened. I was thinking, do I want to continue doing what I'm doing? There was challenges happening with as you're in the workplace,
sure,
you do get challenges, and I was going through those challenges as well. And I met a couple of my clients, and they said, look, you're a very good educator, you're a very good trainer, speaker. You need to take that as your main bread and butter. That's what will actually make you flourish. And I said, okay. So I started thinking about it. I was very scared. I was very scared to actually go out and venture on myself because the job market wasn't great. So I had this wonderful plan that I'll go to another job. That's the first option, only because I was scared.
Sure.
My next step on my plan was I will basically start doing either I move into the first source, go into another role, literally what I'm doing, the same thing, or I'll go to a new role and learn more skill sets and then think about going into business. And final thing was, if nothing happens, I'll just go into a business. And divine destination or divine intervention was literally saying, sorry, you just need to go and do your own thing. And that's what I had to do. And that also took time.
Right.
By 2011, I started my own business. Now, we're talking about leadership. That's what we're here to talk about. And if you look at it, I had to lead myself through these situations. Yes, I had guidance from other people, but at the end of the day, I had to lead myself.
Yes.
So when you look at leadership, the first thing is everyone is a leader. So, look, Jay, you in the morning woke up. You got yourself ready and you came down to the station.
Yes.
You had to lead yourself to get out of it. So this is looking at leadership in a very, very simple format, in a very simple way.
Yes.
So everything which we do involves some kind of leading ourselves, and thus everyone is a leader.
I absolutely agree. I agree. Absolutely. We're all gifted with that leadership.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, people think you have to have a title to be a leader. No, you don't have to be a title. You don't have to be someone popular. You don't have to be someone who's highly revered in the community. You just need to first learn how to lead yourself, or what they define as self-leadership.
I mean, that's splendid, and I think also you mentioned that everybody is a leader, and we are. We come onto planet Earth, and we are, from taking the very first little step. And I think people are oblivious to their inner power. And as soon as we start tapping into our inner resources, that's when we rediscover who we are, hence believing in yourself. And we are leaders, but I think people, it's about feeling the fear. But like yourself, I think that you felt the fear, but you done it anyway.
Yes, absolutely right. Talking about feel the fear and do it anyway,
yes.
That's one of the first facilitation workshops I got myself certified in it. It's a book by Dr. Susan Jeffers,
right.
and till date, I carry the certification. I believe I was the first one in the Middle East, or at least in the UAE, to get that certification and that license, and I'm still doing it since 2011.
Congratulations. What an achievement. What a success indeed. So you transitioned, your very first talk on standing up on a stage. How did you feel? And how did it unfold? Because look, somebody that's never done, and also your audience, what was the magnitude of your audience? So you've built yourself up, you've created that sort of belief system. Your confidence, hopefully, is oozing also, because I don't think anybody can stand on a stage. I mean, everyone's going to have those titlia, the butterfly feelings, and your diddy's going to be, and it's going to be happening. But then you come in on stage. What was that ultimate key ingredients that, transitioned you and got you on that stage and thought, no, it's now or never?
Okay, let's go into a flashback like a Hindi movie.
Right, I love it.
Okay, so we're in a flashback. I am in university in Roehampton. So
Right.
I got my degree from University of Surrey.
Right.
I studied at Roehampton Institute.
Okay.
And I had a 3-year project which I had to present for my IT part of my degree.
Okay.
And I just about passed it. Just about. I said, never, ever, ever, I'm going to stand in front of people. I'm just going to be behind closed doors doing IT stuff.
Right.
And I had made up my mind. Then when I worked for another company in Reading, I think it was Veritas Software, a particular individual, Craig Chapman, this guy supported me. He saw something in me, and he got me to train people. Without telling me that he's asking me to train people, he said, you need to help these people. On top of that, there was another individual, Stuart Beaumont, who was my another manager, who also encouraged me on the same path. And I didn't realize what I was doing. By the time I left that job, I suddenly realized I love education. I love this thing of learning and development, but I had my own practical way to do it. It was not theoretical. It was based on experience. It was based on practicality. And that's how it all started. Come back to Dubai.
Right.
When I started my consultancy in 2011.
Sure.
By now, I'd already, honed a lot of my skills in terms of presenting in front of people, because my job involved presenting in front of CEOs, CFOs, sales directors, you name it. I used to present at every level. And so transitioning was quite easy, but the story started back in the UK when I was too scared to actually present in front of anyone.
Right.
Even if I go flashback further on, one of the GCSEs I did was drama. I got an A grade for that, which was like, wow. for me to get an A grade because I'm not a studious person. I am not a person who likes books.
Goodness.
Now,
Wow.
I loved drama, and I wanted to do drama as a profession. But being that Indian family culture, I was not allowed to do that. It was not allowed. They said, you need to get your education done, then think about all of this stuff.
Right.
So it was somewhere in there, but I was too scared to do it. But that incident with Craig Chapman and Stuart Beaumont really helped me get me out, get those skills out. And in 2011, when I started, initial stages when I started, I was fearful.
Yes.
Because it's like, what if people don't like my work? What if I say something which is stupid? What if... All of those things went on. And there was... as the years went on, I started distinguishing or made it... It was much more clear for me the difference between training, coaching, and speaking.
Right.
Now, a lot of people who want to go into the speaking industry, they tend to deliver their talks like a training session. Speaking is very different to training. Training is actually application of certain skill sets.
Right.
Coaching is you may not be the expert in a field. You may not even have knowledge, but you basically listen to the context of the individual, and you help them use the inner wisdom to find a solution. Speaking is all about informing, inspiring, and influencing. So it's informing, influencing, and inspiring to take some kind of action.
Right.
So there's a vast difference between all these things, but often people get them all mixed up and they think they're doing that one thing. Training is somewhat different, coaching is somewhat different, and speaking is somewhat different. There are different outcomes from all the three of these things.
And so when we distinguish that, when it comes to, of course, communication, I think that's a vital ingredients, when I guess you're up on stage and communicating compassionately, some of your videos that I've seen, because you can have various different styles of communication too. And I think it has to come, it has to be authentic communication. It has to be compassionate also. And that's the key, I think, when it comes to, establishing connection with anybody, communication.
Absolutely. So last year I was doing a talk. Somebody was interviewing me on one of the stations over in Dubai, one of the podcast stations.
Right.
And he turned around and said to me, "You are known as the communication wizard." And I was like, hold on 1 minute. That's been said in the past,
Yes.
but I really don't use it. And suddenly just realized to me, actually I'm going to start using that terminology, communication wizard, because a number of people say that to me. On top of that, they say that to me because of the compassion I have in me. Or they also call me the mystic of compassion.
Ooh,
that's another thing
I love that.
they call me.
Mystic of compassion.
I use the word, the communication wizard, because it's more business related. People can connect to it much quicker.
Right.
Because there is this thing about compassion, which people think it's gooey gaga. It has no outcomes or results. As a leader, compassion is a key component. Look around the world, even now, look at in the history, and even when you go further into the future, when compassion is missing in leadership, okay,
Right.
You are no longer a leader, you're a tyrant. Simple as that. A leader's job, be it for themselves or someone else, is to have courage,
Right.
clarity, conviction, and compassion.
Right.
These things are immeasurable. You cannot measure them in any way whatsoever, and that's what a leader brings out from themselves and from other people.
Right. Just to reiterate them again, because there's a lot of C's in there. So compassion's in there and convictions in there.
Yep. So I'll say there again, say courage.
Courage.
So without courage, you can't really, without courage, everything requires a certain amount of courage. Talking to someone, doing something, making a decision.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
It requires that courage. Even it may not be 100%, there's courage. Or what we call in Punjabi, jigra. Gotta have jigra.
That's it. Would you say courage and confidence are on the same par?
Okay, so after courage, there's clarity. So as you get courage, you start getting some clarity coming through.
Right.
It may not be 100%, it can be just 1%, but there's some clarity. It's better than before. You always look at, is it better than before?
Right.
Okay. Is it helping you move forward? What's going on? So once you've got the clarity, yourself, something happens is where you start getting conviction that you can do things.
Right.
Conviction meaning confident.
Yes.
You're confident in yourself, confident in your beliefs, confidence in the way you do things. And to give that human touch, that kindness and care is where the compassion comes in.
Love it.
So courage, clarity, conviction, compassion. 4 C's which are required in anyone who's thinking about leading others and mainly leading themselves.
Wow. Superb. Splendid. Splendid. So, when it comes to overcoming fear, I mean, we can bring these in and entice them into our lives and stuff. But I think the biggest fear is overcoming that fear, not knowing how to overcome it. Like you said, people judging. Can we do it? Can we not do it? Is there any sort of, key tips, any advice you can give on anybody that's listening? I mean, we all want to be good leaders. We all want to be fantastic communicators.
Yep.
We're here on the radio. We want to give it our full shebang as well. I think anybody, it's every day's learning, every day's education, and we want to do it through the betterment of ourselves and, our fellow earthlings also. So any key sort of, advice where it comes to overcoming your own fear?
Okay. So firstly, I mean, the way I look at it is I would not even call it overcoming your fear. It's about passing through your fears.
Right.
You'll hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, you need to overcome your fear."
Sure.
When you overcome your fear, you're deflecting away from the challenge which you're facing.
Right.
Okay. But now, if you're passing through it, you're learning how to adapt to it. You're learning how to be flexible around it. You're learning how to be versatile. So if it was to come again, you're better at managing it and handling it. So you learn to pass through it.
Right.
Now, how do you pass through it? This is a lifelong lesson. You might be able to pass through a certain fear today, and that might come tomorrow and you are having challenges. So this is where I go back to mindfulness. Mindfulness is extremely, extremely powerful and misunderstood. Misunderstood because usually people relate mindfulness to just meditation. Yes, meditation is a part of my mindfulness, but mindfulness is about remembering to be present in that moment, not to go in the future or in the past. Stay in the moment and observe your current situation, your current scenario, and see what needs to be done. In order to go through the mindfulness path, what you need to do is you need to look at the eightfold path. So what the eightfold path is, and this all drives from what Buddha's teaching were.
Super.
Okay?
Yes.
This was all from Buddha's teaching. And the first thing was wise view. Now, a lot of people call it right view. I prefer calling it wise view. So in a certain situation, how do you view that challenge, that issue, that problem? Look, in life, we all are going to have some kind of suffering.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Agree.
At the same time, we need to also remember life is full of abundance. Suffering may sound a very morbid word, but the truth is, what we see as suffering, the other person may not be seeing as suffering because of the way we've been conditioned.
Yes.
A leader has this great ability to understand people are suffering, and a leader is there to help them pass through the suffering. So, one of them being fearful of something. So, first is looking at wise view. How do you see things? So, this is where you start looking at your emotions, you look at your experiences, your conditioning. How have you been conditioned from a very young age? Now, if you go from a scientific perspective, there is a doctor, Dr. Gabor Mate, based in Canada. I think he is maybe about 90 or 95 years old. Amazing, amazing work he's done. And what has been discovered through the work which he's done is we actually have in our DNA the trauma of our ancestors. Okay, so
yes.
it's in our DNA. So
Sure.
if the trauma of our ancestors are in our DNA, that means there's certain actions or certain things we do is based on what's on our DNA,
Yes.
not because of the way we're thinking. It's already in our blood.
Right. Okay.
Well, if you look at the Indian tradition or the Eastern tradition, what they define as karma. So fear is not just a matter. So fear is just not a matter of what you've experienced. It's also in your DNA. So what you have to do is when you're looking at fear, to pass through your fear, is how do you perceive things, and can you find someone who can help you see the thing in a different way, in a wholesome way, not in a unwholesome way. Now, the listeners might be wondering, okay, what is wholesome? What is unwholesome? So I will ask you a question, G. If I say to you, wholesome, what is the first thought which comes to your mind?
Complete, really.
Yeah. And what is unwholesome?
Incomplete.
Incomplete. So if you look at it, when you're doing certain acts or certain things, you know what is wholesome, and you know what is unwholesome. I'm not saying wrong or right,
of course,
because we all do unwholesome and wholesome things on a daily basis from one second to another.
Agree.
Okay?
Yes.
And our aim is to shift towards being wholesome.
Right.
So when you're in a fearful state, it is basically teaching you that you are now in an unwholesome state and you need to move forward. Now, the easiest way to move forward is focus on your breath. The breath is the anchor to the mind, because the mind runs away.
Right.
So as soon as you focus on your breath, and then when I say focus on, that doesn't mean you start doing, special breathing. You do none of that. You just breathe like you do, even if it's fast, even if it's slow, even if it's all over the place. You just focus that your breath is going in, your breath is going out, your breath is going in, your breath is going out.
So you're becoming more conscious, tuning in and conscious.
Absolutely. You are now getting mindful.
Yes, right.
Now, when you do that, then you start seeing as what the next step is wise intention. Why are you fearful of this situation? What is making you fearful for this situation? What if this fear it does come true? What are the consequences? What if the fear doesn't come true? It doesn't come true. What are the consequences? Again, now you're being mindful of your thoughts.
Right,
now, accordingly, the more mindful you get, the actions and the speech you say get better, and you become more and more wholesome. So it all starts with looking at things like, am I in an unwholesome place or am I in a wholesome place? Right. That's how we all start, and this is how we start to learn to pass through fears. Look, you can't do this always on your own. You need people's help. It could be your family member. It could be that wise person in the community, or it could be a friend, or it could be you need a coach, or it could be you read a book.
And I think really technology has helped in abundance nowadays. I mean, obviously you were here on the radio. When you're away from the radio, I think technology has just over-exceeded, and it's been superb because we can do everything, educate ourselves at the comfort of our own home. And Rohit, honestly, I mean, I'm so intrigued, and I'm sure you've certainly empowered me. You've certainly educated me, and likewise, and I can speak on behalf of my listeners. And it's been such an incredible, insight journey as well. If somebody did want to, obviously listening in, and they want to connect with you, join forces with you, how can they connect with you?
Okay. The easiest way is through my website, which is RohitBassi.com, rohitbassi.com.
Right.
They can always email me on roi@roitalks.com. So those are the two easiest way. When you go to my website, you'll see my email address, you'll see my phone number. I don't hide any of that stuff. I prefer people connecting with me. I'm not a person who hides behind technology. I like to have the human interaction.
Yes, of course. And what about social media? Are you on Facebook and the likes of good old Instagram?
Okay, so I am. I'll tell you, I mainly use LinkedIn.
Right.
Okay. So you will see, if you type in Rohit Bassi, the communication wizard, you'll see me come up. Facebook is something. I have a page with my company, ROI Talks. I have that, but I really am not. It doesn't do much for me. I've recently started using TikTok last week.
Good old TikTok. Yes.
And if you can search me on that, it literally, you need to just write the communication wizard, and I'll be there.
Superb, your pop-up. That's honestly, it's been such a fantastic educational journey for all of us. So thank you very much indeed for taking the time out. And, it would be lovely to sort of reconnect with you in the near future once again.
That would be great, G. I really appreciate you allowing me to speak to your community. It's been an honor, and I would love to come back on the show and talk about other stuff which can help them.
Please do so. We look forward to reconvening. Thank you once again, and have a beautiful future out in Dubai. And when you're back on UK soil, please do reconnect with us.
Definitely. Thank
God
you.
bless.
Take
Thank
care.
you very much indeed. And that was the wonderful Rohit Bassi. And as I said, many titles attached to his name. And that's been a remarkable educational journey for myself as well. So thank you for joining forces with us as well. And just as we do pause for a tick.
From Birmingham, across the Midlands, this is Radio XL on 1296 AM.